The skin is made up of three layers: the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis, which is also known as the subcutis or the panniculus. The epidermis has 5 layers. Right at the surface, we have the stratum corneum, followed by the stratum granulosum, which is also known as the granular cell layer, the stratum spinosum, which is the spiny layer, and the stratum basale, which, as its name implies, is the basal cell layer right at the bottom. The sequence we've described is exactly from the outermost to the innermost layers. This outermost layer of skin primarily consists of keratinocytes, cells which produce a protein called keratin that is a key structural material in hair, skin, and nails. These cells mature over a 2-week life cycle, and it is during these 2 weeks that they are first differentiated from the epidermal stem cells in the basal cell layer and are further differentiated as they move upwards towards the epidermis. It is right at the end of the 28-day cycle that they are shed off after reaching the stratum corneum. The dermis itself, the second layer of skin, has 2 distinct layers: the papillary dermis and the reticular dermis. It consists mainly of fibroblasts, collagen, and elastic fibers. The final layer of the skin, known as the hypodermis, is where the adipose tissue or the fatty tissue lies. Now, zooming in on the concept of skin function and barrier dysfunction, we first understand that the skin acts as a physical barrier between the internal and external environments to retain moisture and to protect the skin against mechanical, chemical, and microbial injury. Dysfunction of skin barrier itself may result in injury, dehydration, infection, and inflammation. The skin also has a key immunologic function, in the sense that the skin itself detects and responds to pathogens or germs. Dysfunction of this immunologic barrier may result in infection, allergy, inflammatory skin conditions, and in the worst case scenario, could even lead to skin cancers. Skin also plays a role in terms of temperature regulation. The skin maintains a constant body temperature by regulating heat loss in the form of sweat production, with insulating properties of fat and hair, and in particular with a dense superficial microvasculature system, which is the intricate network of blood vessels that supply the skin. The failure to maintain a constant body temperature that is ideal for the functioning of physiological processes in the skin is particularly disastrous. This is what happens when you go into hyper or hypothermia, and that is when key cellular processes shut down. Skin also protects from radiation. A dark pigment in the epidermis, known as melanin, protects the skin from harmful ultraviolet radiation. The disruption of the production of melanin increases the risk of skin cancer. When it comes to sensing, the skin constantly monitors the environment through sensory receptors and mechanoreceptors found in the skin. And dysfunction in the nerve sensation leads to symptoms such as itch, known as pruritus, dysesthesia, which is the medical term for an abnormal sensation, and insensitivity to injury or numbness, as in the case of diabetes and leprosy. When it comes to injury repair, skin has the ability to repair cutaneous wounds in 4 phases. First, coagulation, which is the clotting of blood. It then transits into the inflammatory stage, the proliferative migratory stage, which is when tissue begins to form, and also the final remodeling stage. The loss of this ability results in delayed wound healing, for instance, post-radiation treatment. Skin also affects quality of life significantly. Besides true medical conditions, deteriorations to the skin, such as that due to scars or physiological aging can sometimes lead to elements of psychological distress that can also be a result of societal perceptions. Vitiligo, for instance, is a true medical condition, a dermatological condition in which skin loses pigment, melanin in particular. In vitiligo, the sufferer actually ends up having areas of patchy depigmentation, which can be quite distressing. Now, it is likely that any research you would have done about the skin would have returned with the term skin barrier, or in scientific terms, the stratum corneum barrier. You may also be aware already of how important the skin barrier is when it comes to how it affects skin function. But how exactly does the skin barrier work? I want to specify exactly what we mean by the stratum corneum barrier and its link to skin hydration. These have been active areas of study for many years, but it's probably only in the last decade or so that consumers are beginning to find their interest piqued about this construct of the skin barrier, largely due to the marketing campaigns that have been run by the industry on barrier repair actives. Now, before you commit to any product or treatment that promises to repair the skin barrier, hear what I have to say about what these specific terms and processes mean. The stratum corneum barrier itself prevents foreign material from entering the human body, but it does more than that. It also prevents water loss and serves as a shield against environmental factors. The barrier works to maintain the body's homeostasis, or what we consider the stable equilibrium. The loss of water from the body through evaporation from the surface of skin is common, and thus there is a need to keep our corneocytes, the cells at the surface of skin, the stratum corneum, hydrated. Now, corneocytes are found in the stratum corneum layer, that is the outermost layer of the epidermis.